Hi everyone, welcome back on my channel. Hope you all are doing good. This is part 2 of chapter 5, the fundamental unit of life. In this part of the video, you will study about the plasma membrane, and this plasma membrane is the first part of the cell. This is the structure of cell, and cell has three basic features, three basic structures, and this is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Second one is the nucleus, and in between the nucleus and the cell membrane, the fruit portion, that is cytoplasm. And inside this cytoplasm, so many organelles are present. Let's see the structure of the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is the outermost covering of the cell. It is found in animal cell as well as in plant cell also. This is the first basic structure of a cell. And it is flexible in nature. As you can see in the diagram, it looks like it is flexible. And it is made up of protein and lipid molecule. You can see that these are the lipid molecules and this is the protein molecule. So it is made up of proteins and lipids and it is flexible. And the plasma membrane is selectively permeable membrane. This membrane is selectively permeable in the sense this decides itself which materials should enter inside the cell and which material should move out of the cell. Means the entry of the substances inside the cell and exit of the substances out from the cell is decided by plasma membrane. So that is why it is known as selectively permeable membrane. You can see this is the extracellular fluid and this is the cytoplasm. In case of suppose gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen, it allows carbon dioxide to move out and it allows oxygen to move in. In the same way, the substances which are good for the cell, it allows them to enter in, and which is the waste, it allows to move out from the cell. And the movement of water molecule through the selectively permeable membrane is known as osmosis. Because water molecules passes through this cell membrane, and this movement of water particles, water molecule, is known as osmosis. And due to the flexibility of the cell, you know that amoeba, that is the unicellular organism, it acquires its food. How does it do it? Suppose this is the structure of amoeba. You know, this is the amoeba, and it enlarges the membrane to catch its food. It enlarges like this, thus. In this way it enlarges, and from here the food goes in. So suppose here it is the food particle. So it takes its food by enlarging the pseudopodia. So in this way it takes its food, and this process is known as endocytosis. This is important question, and what is endocytosis? So please learn it. What are the differences between the semi-permeable membrane and selectively permeable membrane? In case of the selectively permeable membrane, as you have seen, that it allows to pass only some selected substances to pass through it, right? Whereas the semi-permeable membrane, it permits the passage of pure solvent substances. All pure solvent substances it permits to pass through it, but it does not allow any solute particle to pass through it. This is about the semi-permeable membrane. This membrane is called the semi-permeable membrane, which allows only the solvent particles to pass through it. But not the solute particle. And when we say selectively permeable membrane, then it means it selects the substances to move in and to move out. So that is called selectively permeable membrane. Right? It allows only some substances to pass through it, not all. And one more thing is there, that selectively permeable membrane requires constant energy to its maintenance, whereas a semi-permeable membrane does not require constant energy for its maintenance. Let's see how does the movement of substances take place into the cell. How do the substances move out of the cell? Some substances like carbon dioxide or oxygen can move across the cell membrane by a process called diffusion. Diffusion is a process which we have done in previous chapter also, that in diffusion the substances move from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and this movement continues till the concentration is equalized. Means, suppose in case the cell, if we are talking about the cell, inside the cell the carbon dioxide is in high concentration and it is a waste there. So it will move from its higher concentration to the lower concentration, means from inside the cell it will move to outside the cell. And oxygen, which is outside in the higher concentration, it will move inside. Suppose this is the cell membrane. So carbon dioxide from inside, this is carbon dioxide, so it will move from inside to its outside. So it will diffuse outside, and oxygen, which is in higher concentration in the external environment, it will move inside. So this is about the diffusion. And diffusion, during diffusion there is no requirement of the semi-permeable membrane, and the same law of diffusion is followed by osmosis. The process of osmosis is somehow similar, but in case of osmosis the solvent particles migrate across a semi-permeable membrane as water move from outside the cell to inside and from inside to outside through a semi-permeable membrane. Means osmosis needs a semi-permeable membrane, whereas in diffusion there is no need of semi-permeable membrane. The concept of osmosis and diffusion will be more clear by this figure. You can see this is the process of osmosis is shown in this figure, and here the water in its higher concentration, and the water molecules are moving from the higher concentration to its lower concentration through this semi-permeable membrane. So this is what about osmosis. The same thing is happening, that from the higher concentration the molecules are moving to the lower concentration, but through the semi-permeable membrane, and this is a liquid, that is water is moving. In case of diffusion, the molecules are moving from high concentration to the lower concentration, but there is no semi-permeable membrane in between. And second thing, one thing is same in both, that in osmosis also the movement of molecule takes place till the solution is not equalized in concentration, and the same happens in case of diffusion. Now when we say osmosis, means the water can move from the external environment to inside the cell, or from the cell, from inside the cell to out of the cell. When the water is moving from outside to inside the cell, the process is known as osmosis. And when the water is coming out from the cell, the process is known as exosmosis. Here you can see these are the resins, and these resins are soaked into the water. This is the normal water, and after 2-3 hours you will see that resins swell up. So why these resins swell up? It is because the water is moving from outside to inside the cell. And in case of exosmosis, these are the, suppose you are taking the resins which were swollen here, and these resins you are just dipping in the salt solution. Or you can take grapes also, and you can dip these grapes into the salt solution. Then what will you see? That these will shrink. And why do these shrink? Because the salt solution is not having the high concentration of water. So that is why the water is inside the cell in high concentration. So water moves from inside to outside. And that is why these resins shrink. So this is about endosmosis and exosmosis, and this is in one practical also, which you can do it at your home. You can take few resins and you can just put these resins into the water. You will see that these resins swell up after some time, and the same resins, if you will dip in the salt solution, you will see that resins will shrink after some time. So this is what about endosmosis and exosmosis. Now see, these are the 3 jars you are watching here, and in one jar it is the hypotonic solution, in another jar it is the isotonic solution, and this is the hypertonic solution. In case of the hypotonic solution, when we say that the solution is hypotonic solution, when the concentration of water is more in the external environment than the inside the cell, means it is a very dilute solution, then the solution is termed as hypotonic solution. And in this case you can see that more water is going inside, because water will move in as well as out across the cell, but the amount of water which is moving in, that is more than the water coming out. So that is why the net water gain is there and cell swell up, means endosmosis takes place. So here you have to remember that in case of hypotonic solution, always endosmosis will take place. This is the isotonic solution. Isotonic solution means the solution which has the same concentration inside the cell and the outside the cell, and that is why how much water is moving out from the cell, the same amount of water is moving inside the cell. So that is why the net loss or gain is nil. So neither endosmosis nor exosmosis will take place in case of the isotonic solution. And the hypertonic solution is the solution in which inside the cell the water has its high concentration, means it is dilute inside, and outside the solution is concentrated. So the amount of water which is coming out from the cell is more than the water moving in. For your convenience, it is shown here. You can see that the 4 molecules are shown of water to coming out and 2 molecules are going in. This is an indication that the more water is coming out than the water is moving in, and that is why net water loss is there. And when net water loss is there, then cell will shrink, and when cell shrinks means exosmosis takes place. So remember these terms, that hypotonic solution where the endosmosis will take place, isotonic solution neither endosmosis nor exosmosis will take place, and hypertonic solution in which exosmosis will take place. So I hope you all have got properly about the plasma membrane and about these two processes, diffusion and osmosis. Thank you for watching video. We'll meet in the next video.